So on July 1st of this year, I went on my first ever solo trip across the country at just 18 years old. So if there's anybody else watching right now who's 18 and wants to explore the world for the first time, I'm making this video to talk about how I did it myself at age 18. So stay tuned.
Would you bang Howard Stern?
Hey everyone, I'm Ivy. This is absolutely not a video that, I expect out of myself, but it's a video that I wish I had seen before I did all my shit for my solo trip. So I'm making it for those of you out there who want to break free from home and explore the world a bit, explore the country a bit, and talk about how to do that all on your own. Also, if you're wondering where I'm filming from at the moment, stay tuned for the end because I have a very important life update situation that I want to talk about. So to give a bit of context, on the 1st of July through the 3rd of July, I went to New Hampshire to visit one of my best friends in the whole world. It did have a bunch of confusion and issues and that type of stuff, but it ended up being really fun regardless. And while I was out there, I heard a lot of people telling me stuff like, I've never seen anyone as young as you embark on such a trip all by themselves and whatever. And I was honored and took it as a huge compliment, but it really put it into perspective for me, how very few of us actually get to experience this type of stuff in their lives, especially this early on into adulthood. And honestly, if you would have told me months ago or even a year ago that I'd be doing that, I would have probably spat in your face. But knowing what I know now and having the experience that I do have, I felt it was the perfect time to make a little video talking about my experience and giving some tips and, trying to ease the anxiety that comes with making a trip, because I know personally that there's a lot of anxiety going on. There's a lot of thoughts racing through your head, is this going to go wrong? Is this going to go wrong? Is this going to go wrong? So I want to completely just get all those bad thoughts out of your head so that you have nothing but a positive outlook on your future trips. Now, not beat around the bush, because I'm a person that likes to get the bad news out of the way first. The bad news, my quote fingers, I can't do that with my fingers anymore. Flying by yourself, going on any sort of trip across the country by yourself is not a cheap process, and it's not a fast one. I think I spent probably $700 during that trip, and getting from where I live to New Hampshire took about 11 hours in one day. Not only that, but for me personally, my luggage was literally just an insulated red fabric food service bag, and by the time that I went back home from that trip, one of the handles on the sides completely fell off, so I had to carry it like this the whole way back. It was not a fun experience at all. But I just want to get it out the way that it's a very time-consuming process, and it's not a cheap process at all. But with that out of the way, I hope at least that won't deter you from living your life and doing whatever you want to do. But I just want you to keep that in mind as we're going forward. So with that being said, let's get started. So when it comes to planning, there's numerous aspects involved. There's the flight costs, the hospitality costs, the food and drink costs, or whatever you want to call it, the transportation costs, the leisure costs, which is type of fun stuff you can do. First thing I actually want to talk about is finding flights. One of the more important things that I want to hammer down when it comes to finding good flights is finding your closest international airport with the most amount of direct flights. And what I mean by direct flights are flights that go straight from A to Z. Indirect flights, I don't know if that's what they're called, but flights that aren't direct flights will usually start at A, they'll stop at B, D, H, T, W, and then get to Z after all that time. Those flights can be incredibly pricey, so I would recommend finding whatever direct flights you can. So to put it in a little bit of perspective, I'm from Superior, Wisconsin, and technically the closest international airport here is Duluth International Airport. The only problem is that it only has 3 direct stops. They're Minneapolis, Chicago, and Fort Myers, Florida. So in order for me to get from Duluth to where I was going in New Hampshire, that would require up to 3 stops before I get there. That's probably an exaggeration, but your goal is to not have any stops there, because you don't want to pay for the extra stops. You just want to get from A to Z, and that should be it. So therefore, when I left town, I would have had to go to Minneapolis St. Paul International Airport to Boston and then get up to New Hampshire. And likewise, to get back home, there are a lot of international airports in New Hampshire, but the only close by one that would have had direct flights back to Minneapolis was in Boston at Logan International Airport. So if you want to be cost efficient with your flights, stick to direct flights. Another important part of this is the airline you choose. A lot of people can have their own opinions on different airlines, but I personally love Delta. I've flown with them 3 times now. The first flight to Boston by myself, I used Delta. The second one I did not, but I'll get to that in a second. I love Delta. Most Delta flights have their own built-in internet connection. They have like movie screens on the back. And one of the things that really like keeps my mind at ease is the fact that they let you track your flights in real time so that you can see what part of the country you're over. So you have kind of a window of where you are. So while I recommend Delta, I might as well also tell you guys that I do not recommend Sun Country Airlines. You might not ever use Sun Country Airlines unless you're flying to or from Minnesota or one of its very few stops, but it is one of the most boring experiences ever. Whiny coming from a chronically online loser like me, but they don't even have the screens on the backs of the seats. They do have their own little internet connection, but literally all it does is bring you to their one website where they have a whole bunch of horrible movie and TV options, like insanely boring games that you can play on the plane. And when I eventually found a show that I do like, Phineas and Ferb, on their little catalog of TV shows and movies, they literally only had one episode available. So unless you're a person that can go without knowing exactly where you are, or that can go without having media playing in your ears or right in front of you or whatever, then I guess you can do Sun Country. But if you're an anxiety-ridden person like me that wants to know where you are or has something in the background to like kind of ease your mind, then I would not recommend Sun Country. I would 100% recommend Delta. I've really only flown on those two, so in the future my opinion might change, but for now I'm sticking with Delta. Okay, now let's talk about hospitality. Unless you're going to be staying with somebody at their house, depending on your budget and stuff, you may end up with either a nice luxury cozy hotel with a jacuzzi or a hot tub or a pool or whatever. Sometimes you can end up with a very shitty like motel on the outskirts of whatever city you're staying at. One of the key things that I want to hammer in your mind is, with everything involved with this, you should plan in advance, but specifically for hotels, you want to plan like 4 to 6 months in advance. I don't want anybody to go through the situation where you make it to the hotel and you don't have enough to get a room on the spot, or like you plan it so late in advance that there's some issue with the room given to somebody else, or whatever happens. This is the United States of America. Anything can happen. Anything crazy can happen. I just want to make sure that you're set for this trip. Another thing is the age policy. I know that some hotels don't discriminate against age, so if you can absolutely find any of those, that should be perfectly fine. But I know that from my experience, especially from this last trip, a lot of hotels and motels have an age requirement of 21 and above, which is so f***ing annoying, because if you're able to do literally everything else at 18, you should be able to rent a f***ing hotel room. But some hotels do require you to be 21, others require you to be 18. Some of them, I think, let you rent if you're a minor, but I would not hold my breath on that. So I would verify the age policy with certain hotels as well. The last thing about hotels, hospitality really, is to make sure you have like a lot more in your bank account than the cost of your stay at the hotel, because I know that from being in the hospitality industry and having family that's worked in there, some hotels do charge incidentals, which are like basically security deposits for hotel rooms, and they're basically like additional amounts of money that you provide to them, and as long as there's no damage to the hotel room, as long as you're not lighting fires in there, smoking meth, having like animal circus rings, then it'll get charged right back to you when you check out. Transportation can also be annoying, but it's a big necessity. If you're somehow lucky enough to not only be able to drive, but also find a car rental business that rents to people 18 years old or older, then amazing job. But unfortunately, most, if not all, car rental services require you to be 21, some do 25. They all have different age limits. Other options, if you're 18, are Uber, Lyft. You can use public transportation. It's one of those things you really don't want to overlook. You don't want to cancel out any options. Always have a plan B. Okay, let's talk about food, water, and hygienic products. So I'm going to spoil a little point that I'm going to be bringing up later on in the video, but you absolutely cannot bring food, water, or hygienic products onto planes through TSA. Let me show you this picture quickly. The very first time I flew on a school trip to Boston, I tried bringing everything you're looking at right now onto my flight. I had to throw all of it away. Unless you can find like travel sized versions of any of these products, that should be fine, but you can't just bring your standard household food, water, like shampoo, conditioner. You cannot bring that type of stuff through TSA. They will make you throw it away. It's really annoying. I literally cannot stand TSA at all, but if you want to be able to make your flight, just don't bring that with you. This does mean that you will have to pay for your own food, water, and hygienic products. I'm not going to give you any sort of specific amount that you would need. That all depends on your very specific needs, your appetite, your whatever, how much you plan to eat, how much you plan to go out, what type of food you eat. So I really can't give you a concrete amount that you should bring, but I'll just leave that to your best judgment. Really, this is optional, but I would also prepare for like leisure costs, or I'm talking about like fun stuff, like going to concerts, getting paintings from a guy on the side of the road, eating out at a super fancy restaurant, etc., paying for hookers, whatever you plan to do there. I would just have a lot of money saved. Especially if you're one of those people that likes to get memorabilia or like clothing from the places you like to go to. I would have that prepared just in case. Now, that's all the stuff that goes into planning your trip, but now I kind of want to talk about how to get to the airport, how early should you show up, how do you get there, that type of stuff. Depending on where the airport you've chosen is, you might get lucky enough to drive there. If you're a person that doesn't like parking costs, then I wouldn't recommend parking at the airport. If you have a friend that lives close to the airport or a family that lives there, if their landlord or head of housing allows it, you can always park your car at their house and have them bring you, and then when you come back, have them bring you to your car. I understand that can get really complicated though, so like I always say, Uber and Lyft is an option. I personally took a shuttle, Groom Transportation, which has stops all across Minnesota and some in Wisconsin as well. It's another one of those things you have to plan in advance for. I think that when I bought my shuttle to Minneapolis, I bought it like a month beforehand and paid probably $60 for it. I'd have to go back and see. But when I had to eventually grab a shuttle to get to Boston Airport to go back home on the 3rd of July, I paid probably $80. Again, it's really one of those things you have to plan in advance. I would also recommend you get to the airport probably 2 hours before your flight actually takes off, because if there's any issues with TSA, if you want to eat, if you need to use the bathroom, if you need to grab anything taken care of, that gives you ample opportunity to do that, because I don't want anybody going onto their plane hungry, having to or having a bladder so achy it feels like it's like colliding with your stomach. Now, another important thing to note, you want to like actually research the airport you're going to so you know what terminals to go to. So basically, airport terminals are separated based on the different airlines. Sometimes they're separated by numbers like they are in Minneapolis, so terminal 1, 2, etc. Sometimes they're labeled by letters like in Boston, so there's terminal A, terminal B, terminal C, terminal E, etc. Hopefully your boarding pass and your itinerary will tell you which terminal to go to, because if your flight leaves terminal 1 and you end up at terminal 2, that's gonna f you up really bad. Now, checking into your flight. I highly recommend downloading the app of whatever airline you've chosen so that you can check in virtually beforehand, so that you can get all of your seating information, your gate information. If you need to check in luggage last minute, you can do that through the app. And then you'll also get a digital version of your boarding pass. An important thing for that is to never, ever leave your boarding pass just exposed where anybody can see it, because there's been stories of people who have taken pictures of people's boarding passes and basically stole their flight. So I want to make sure that doesn't happen to any of you. Now let's talk about the most fun part of navigating through the airport, which is TSA. Easy situation to begin with. All you really need to do is show them your ID, your government issued ID. Copies typically won't work, like paper copies. All you really got to do to begin with is just show them your ID, and then it's on to the scanning process or the x-ray process. So typically the way TSA screening goes is you take off your shoes, you get rid of all of the electronic stuff out of your bag, like your phone, your laptop, any chargers, headphones, game consoles, that type of stuff, and you put them on these little carts, including everything included, your shoes, all your electronics. You put them on one cart, they all go through, and then you put your bag itself with everything else in it on another cart, and basically these just go through machines that x-ray them and make sure there's nothing dangerous or hazardous in your bags. Remember that you cannot bring liquids, foods, aerosols, firearms, God forbid, weapons of any kind. You cannot bring those on board. And also, sorry to tell you if you're a pothead like me, but if you want to get through TSA stress-free, just leave all your shit at home. It is a no-brainer as well. If you're a heroin user or anything like that, don't bring that to TSA. Now, sometimes your bag may still be held by TSA for a second, even if you know there's nothing in it. Don't panic. Don't get all crazy. It's probably just a miscommunication by the TSA machine. I know that on both my flights to and from Boston, New Hampshire, I got stopped because I had a lot of loose change in my bag, which I guess is the thing that sets it off. But all they'll do is they'll just manually search your bag with gloves and verify that you don't have anything dangerous on board, and then you should be good to go. So, given that you already know where your gate is, and let's talk about that for a second. Gates are usually labeled by one letter and one number. I don't know how those are at the rest of the airports in the country, but I know that at least in Minneapolis and Boston, you'll get gates like G10, there's like A2, B3, that type of shit. So when you're navigating the airport after TSA, it's important to look at like the signs on the ceiling and any other signs that tell you where to go, so you don't get lost in the airport. I would make sure to get to your gate probably 35-40 minutes before boarding actually starts. Boarding starts 20 minutes before your departure time on your itinerary, which also, if you need to use the bathroom, if you need to eat, if you need to grab headphones, if you need to go anywhere in particular that you want to go, that gives you extra time to do that as well. Now, boarding is an excruciatingly slow process because there's a lot of old people, a lot of people with kids, a lot of people with heavy luggage. It's insane. But one of the things that I would recommend you do is get up and get ready to be in line before your zone is called, like right before, so that you don't get cut off, you're not delayed any further. So let's say that your seat is in zone, by the way, on the planes, sometimes they'll separate the seating areas by zones. So let's say that you're in zone 6. When they start calling up zone 5, that's when you want to be ready to go, and so that when they call zone 6, you're perfectly able to go. You show the guy your boarding pass. If you have checked luggage, they'll put a little tag on your bag, letting them know, so that you can pick it up at the carousels at the destination airport, and then you just sit on the plane. If you have carry-on luggage, you can either put that underneath the seat in front of you or put it in one of the overhead bins. It's very stupid, simple process. I want to specifically touch on the luggage because there's different kinds of purchases that you can get. There's different kinds of luggage. I personally recommend, unless you're staying somewhere for more than a week, I would say to bring a carry-on bag, which is just a bag that goes in one of the overhead bins on the airport or underneath the seat in front of you. If you really have to check in your bags, if they're too big to bring on the plane as carry-on, that should be fine as long as you just do it all beforehand. I know that when I had to check in my bag last minute for Sun Country, I paid probably $40 to $50. Again, different cases for different scenarios, for different people, for different airlines, for different airports. It's just all about making sure that you research and get it done beforehand. And then if your bag is checked, it'll end up at one of the carousels at your destination airport. Hopefully the flight attendants will tell you over the intercom what carousel you need to get your stuff from. But if not, if you're lucky enough to have like a little tag with you, you can scan that with one of the airline apps and it'll tell you what carousel you'll find your luggage at. And all that's really left is just the flight itself. Basic stuff. If the fasten seatbelt sign is on, put the goddamn thing on and tighten that shit. Listen closely to the emergency training situation announcements. They're unfortunately more needed than ever at times like these, so I would make sure to pay like especially close attention to them. But other than that, that's basically all you need to know to get there. When you get to the airport, you just find the carousel that your luggage is in, you grab it, and then depending on where pickup is for shuttles, Uber, Lyft, that type of stuff, you want to go to that area and then order your Lyft or Uber or wait for your shuttle to get there. The rest of the journey is now in your hands. Alright, so let's talk about the little update that I want to talk about at the end of the video. Where the fuck am I now? I am currently in a camper in my parents' house backyard. I don't know if you guys know about my whole life situation going on at the moment, but there's been a lot of family situations going on with me. Some of you might know, some of you might not. I'm not going to go into it because it's not really that important. But February this year, or sorry, early March this year, I moved out into a roommate's house who used to be one of my close friends. And I lived there for about 4 months. Started off good, but then it started getting incredibly toxic. I had a whole bunch of responsibilities pushed onto me. I was treated worse than I've ever been treated in any household before. And it got to the point where my mental health was crumbling and I needed to get out of there. But I really didn't have anywhere else to go. My parents know that I don't want to live with them in their house, and people in general just know that I don't want to live with other people. Like, I've gotten to a point now where I cannot be working around other people's schedules. I can't be pushing my own life aside all the time for other people. I can't deal with conflicts. I can't deal with heavy conflicts, that type of stuff. So what we decided to do is, while I was in New Hampshire, my mom and dad went out and got this camper. I'll probably show you guys in another video when I get the place actually tidied up, because as you can see, like, literally just a blanket as a curtain right now. I do have my cats. Hi, Blizzard. Logan's over there somewhere. He's hiding. He's not really adjusted to the camper yet, but I'm sure that he'll be fine. But I do have all my equipment in here. Obviously, I have my mic. I've got all of my guitars in here with me. I have my NES right there. I do some speedrunning content sometimes on my Twitch. It's twitch.tv/IntrepidIV if you guys want to watch some of that stuff. It's really hard to talk about, because while I love the fact that I'm finally like in my own space, kind of, it's not fully. I'm not fully free yet, because there's no working water, there's no like working heat. I have to go inside the house to shower and take care of my hygiene, do stuff like that. If I want to cook, I have to go in there. If I really want food urgently, I have to DoorDash, which is going to be a little bit hard to do now because of my job situation. If you guys don't know, I worked at a restaurant and a hotel for about 4 months, the amount of time that I spent at my roommate's house. But yesterday, the day I'm filming this, which is July 8th, I quit. Couldn't take it anymore. I couldn't take the way I was being treated. They kept cutting my hours out of nowhere. They kept favoring other people, hiring new people. And like, I am an adult and I have responsibilities I need to take care of. So, and they were trying to bully me into not talking about how I was treated at the place. So, I quit. So as of right now, there's no income coming in. I'm still looking for other jobs, of course, because, you know, your boy can't go without a job for months on end anymore. That's not the way I want to live. But it's not going to be easy. It's already not easy being in here, because I don't think anybody, regardless of their situation, deserves to be living somewhere where there's no working water, there's no working heat. If you ask me, I'd much rather be on my own right now. I've explored all my options, but all I got to do right now is just sit back and wait for everything to go on. So, oh wait, that's right. You guys, this is like breaking news. I had an appointment today to go talk to somebody about housing, and I completely forgot about it. So, that's another situation. But yeah, I'm absolutely never going to ask for financial support. I don't even know how you'd be able to do that. But all I can really keep doing is making my content and talking about stuff and living my life. So that's a little update I wanted to give you guys. That's also why I've been like really lacking behind on content, because I haven't had the proper time, the proper space, the proper mindset, the proper anything to do this. I've been struggling to do this video for like 4 to 5 days now. Yeah. So I just want to let you guys know what's been going on. Yeah. Stay tuned for more content. Follow me on my Instagram. Follow me on TikTok. Follow me on Twitch if you want to catch the occasional speedrunning streams that I do. Let's see. Stay tuned for any new music stuff as well. I've been trying to get some of that as well. I've been planning out some gigs around town. Trying to get my music kind of out there more. Yeah. Stay tuned for all that, and hope this video was informational to some of you young adults out there. And I will see all of you soon. Don't know when that'll be, but see you soon. Bye.
Would you bang Howard Stern?